A few days before Christmas, I was waiting in the arrivals hall at Manchester Airport here in New Hampshire. I watched as other families and loved ones greeted each other as they exited the lounge after the short flight from Boston. I was waiting for my wife, Dr. Emily Walker, to come home. Emily had been working in Puerto Rico for the past 6 months, and I hadn't seen her in about a month since Thanksgiving. My name is John Walker. My friends and work colleagues call me Johnny for obvious reasons. I'm the same age as my wife, 27, but while she became a doctor, I became an engineer and work here in Manchester. I'm 6 feet tall with dark brown hair and brown eyes. Emily and I were high school sweethearts. She was my first crush and my first girlfriend. We went to college together, but I graduated early because Emily was still studying to become a doctor. We got married shortly after I graduated, almost 2 years ago, and have been renting a cozy 3-bedroom house in North Manchester for several years. Emily's first job after graduating from medical school was with the non-governmental organization Doctors Without Borders. They provide 6 or 12-month contracts for doctors working in third world or distressed countries where medical care is essential. Many young doctors like Emily take advantage of this opportunity to gain experience, and humanitarian aid work always looks good on a CV. Emily completed half of her 12-month contract when she first went to Puerto Rico last summer. Keeping a relationship at a distance is not easy. We were always together and did everything together since we were 16. These periods between her trips home are the longest I've ever spent without her in the last 10 years. I missed her very much. In the crowd of passengers, I noticed the wavy blonde hair of an attractive woman. This is my Emily. She is 5 feet 7 inches tall, has long wavy blonde hair and beautiful blue eyes. Emily also has a stunning figure. She's slim and toned, which accentuates her large breasts. I've been used to guys staring at her since her breasts started developing in high school, and I've learned to live with it. Her smile widened when she saw me, walking up to me with open arms and ready to kiss me. "Hi, honey, so good to see you," Emily said, hugging me and then kissing me on the lips. "Hey, beautiful, you look even better than a month ago. You've been working on your tan again, huh?" "You look amazing," I replied. "Thanks, I try to catch the sun every day I can." "There's not much to do there other than work," Emily replied, and we headed to baggage claim. Over the next hour, we caught up on the past month, although I'm not very good at gossip. Emily had little news about her work. Everything had been business as usual since her last visit home. While Emily called her mom in the kitchen, I helped by carrying her suitcase into our bedroom, unzipping it and opening it so she could start unpacking when she was ready. One of the items of clothing in the suitcase caught my attention when I opened the lid. I pulled it out to look. It was a transparent red peignoir, a very sexy peignoir. I had never seen her wear it before. Perhaps she bought it to surprise me as it looked brand new, so I put it back in place and closed the lid of the suitcase. After dinner that night, I was looking forward to having sex with Emily again because a whole month had passed, which was too long. I half expected her to come to bed wearing the sheer red negligee I'd seen earlier, but she came out of the bathroom just wearing a long t-shirt. Maybe she was saving it for a special occasion. The sex was good, although not what I had imagined, dreaming about it for the past 4 weeks. It was more like those nights when you have sex every night, and this was one of those nights. Not a passionate meeting between two lovers who have been missing each other for a month. But she's probably tired after 3 chances to get home, and we have 5 days to enjoy each other. We spent Christmas at my parents' house since Emily's parents moved to Florida a few years ago. On the 3rd day after Emily's arrival, I still felt like something was missing, that spark that usually existed between us. I thought back to Thanksgiving, and I have to say that the 2 nights Emily was home weren't the best either. I explained this by saying that she was tired from traveling, and she also said that she had worked a lot and needed rest. But what about now? She doesn't look tired or frazzled, but the spark and enthusiasm just isn't there like it used to be before she left over the summer. Maybe I'm just imagining things. Maybe I remember us making love better than we actually did. But I do not think so. When the last day of her visit and then the night came, I was still waiting for her to wear the new sexy red negligee I saw in her suitcase. If there was a night for this, this was it. Emily flies out in the morning, so this is our last night together until she returns for a weekend at the end of February and a week together over Easter. I was disappointed when she came into the bedroom again, wearing only an oversized t-shirt, one of my old ones. I wanted to ask her about the red peignoir, but I didn't, focusing more on pleasing her. After I dropped Emily off at the airport in the morning and said goodbye, I watched as her plane took off into the sky, taking her away from me again. These days are the most unpleasant, with a long wait until she returns. But that's not all that bothered me. I've never felt more distant from Emily than over the holidays. It felt like we were just doing chores, even though I did everything I could to make her trip memorable. I didn't feel like Emily was trying half as hard as I was, and now I was having a hard time shaking that feeling. What is the reason? In her work? In my? Maybe she, while traveling and meeting new people, realized that she no longer wanted to be married. Is she tired of our marriage, or am I just seeing something that isn't there? I shook my head as I walked to my truck. I had to get to work. On the way to work, I couldn't stop thinking about it. When Emily first went to Puerto Rico last summer, she called me every day, sometimes twice. We had sex video calls every few days when she was alone in the apartment she shared with one of her colleagues. But in September, they began to disappear, and her daily calls became weekly. I tried to call her more often, but every time I got an answering machine, she later said that her phone was turned off at work. This does not explain why it is also disabled after work. Either way, she'll call me when she lands in Puerto Rico. Almost 2 months of phone calls is all I have. When I returned from work later that day, I realized that Emily never called, even though she should have landed in Puerto Rico a long time ago. I tried to call, but again got an answering machine. What the heck? She doesn't start work until tomorrow. I changed and went to the gym. We have our own gym in the garage to save money. Working out helps me forget about the stresses of the day and my worries about Emily. After my shower, I checked my phone but still didn't receive a call from my wife. So I started cooking dinner, finally relaxing in front of the TV and eating alone as I had become accustomed to. Before going to bed, I decided to call again, but was again redirected to voicemail. What are you doing, Emily? How could you forget to call your own husband when you arrived in another country? The next morning at work, Emily finally called me, saying that she was busy getting ready for work yesterday, which is why she forgot to call. That still didn't explain why her phone was off for most of the afternoon and evening, but I decided not to dwell on it. We didn't talk for long. She said she was taking a short break and needed to get back to work. From that morning on, I only received calls from Emily once a week, always on weekends, always on Saturday mornings. Whenever I tried to call her at other times, my calls would go to voicemail, and she would come up with some random excuse, usually that she was working late. Even our calls on Saturday mornings seemed like a kind of obligation to her, as if she was checking in because she had to. If at Christmas I had vague suspicions, now they turned into real anxiety. Emily's visit home at the end of February passed, but I still had the feeling that something was wrong between us, that Emily was again just doing her duties while at home. By Easter, I was trying to put all my worries behind me when I met her again at the airport. But during the 5 days that my wife was home, this feeling only intensified. She seemed distant again, often as if in another reality. Our love relationship was mediocre at best. Although we were still best friends as always, the romantic and physical side of our relationship suffered the most. On the last day of her visit, I decided to talk to her about what was bothering me. Emily, is something bothering you? It's like we're not as close as we used to be. I can't really explain it, but something is wrong. No, nothing is bothering me. I haven't noticed anything unusual in our relationship. I'm still very happy to be married to the man I love. Why do you think something is wrong? Emily asked. Because we don't connect like we used to. You seem almost distant when you're at home, like you'd rather be somewhere else. We rarely talk when you're abroad. You never answer my calls. Your phone is always turned off, even when you are not working. Continue. John, I'm sorry, but working in Puerto Rico was a lot harder than I thought. Constantly long hours, back-to-back shifts, and all the stress that comes with it. Little free time, so I spend it sleeping or relaxing by the pool. Trying to relax. I'm sorry if I don't call you all the time, but I feel even more lonely when I talk to you. Besides, what should we talk about? You always ask about my work, and I try not to think about it. We don't have to talk about your work. I'd like to just talk to my wife for more than 30 minutes once a week. That's all you give me. Sorry again. I'll call more often, okay? I didn't think it would bother you that much. I nodded to Emily. Maybe I was overthinking things. I was hoping that when her contract ended in June and she returned home for good, things would go back to normal. I was glad I voiced my concerns, and she left on a good note. Despite promising to call more often, we soon returned to calling once a week. Emily must have set a reminder on her phone for Saturday 10, and because she always called at that time. As June approached, I was excited that her contract was coming to an end, that we could get our lives back and hopefully be ourselves again. I was tired of being alone. I missed her more than I could imagine. Emily was supposed to fly in on Sunday morning, but I still expected her to call on Saturday morning as usual, but that didn't happen. By 11 a.m. I tried to call her, but again it went to voicemail. She can't work the Saturday before she gets home because her contract officially ended yesterday, so what's going on? I tried to call her later on Saturday afternoon and again in the evening, but each time I got to voicemail. I began to feel like the parent of a naughty child, overly controlling and overprotective. I left the first message earlier in the day for her to call me, so why did she turn off her phone again or not check her messages? Early Sunday morning, I finally received a message from Emily. She again apologized for not contacting me sooner and told me her flight time. She was due back in Manchester at 3 p.m., so I had the morning to get things done before I had to go to the airport. I made sure the house was tidy, then went for a run, and then did a workout in our makeshift gym. All this time, while I was running and working out, I couldn't get Emily out of my head. My concern was that she was having an affair while she was in Puerto Rico. I couldn't think of any other logical explanation, and as an engineer who is used to solving problems by thinking logically, this was the only reason that seemed plausible to me for the way Emily had been acting over the past year. This would explain why she became less and less in touch, and also seemed much more emotionally distant when she was at home. This could also explain why her phone was turned off so often when she wasn't supposed to be working. If she was with someone else, she wouldn't want me calling her. If she had an affair, then that explains everything. But what should I tell her? Ask directly. Based on what? My guesses and lack of calls. I have never been a petty person or one who likes to gossip. I have always relied on facts, numbers, and reality. It's just not in my nature to accuse someone without evidence, and what will it do to our marriage if I do that? She'll realize I don't trust her, which will only make things worse if she hasn't actually slept with anyone. No, I'll do what I do best, bury my feelings and emotions, and just deal with what's in front of me. Emily will be home this afternoon, and maybe this will all be behind us, and our lives will go back to normal. Emily's welcome upon her return seemed genuinely warm, and I was glad she was finally home. We quickly began to return to family life, although I still felt that our relationship was not back to the level it had been before she left for Puerto Rico a year ago. It just didn't feel the same. I mean, Emily is still fun to talk to. She can be funny and sincere, warm and loving. Everything you would want in a best friend, but you need something more from your wife. There is an emotional and sexual connection that a loving couple requires, and that is still missing between us right now. My wife spent the first week moving on several interviews. The job she really wanted was at Manchester's main hospital, Elliot Hospital. By the end of the week, she had good news. She had been accepted. Working at a good hospital meant she would have the opportunity to grow in her career, and I was very happy for her. It also meant that there would be no more overseas contracts with her previous employer, which was one of the main reasons I was happy for her. Towards the end of August, I began to worry less about us. Emily has now been at her new job for almost 3 months and seems to be loving it. Although I still feel like we're not back to what we were before her 12 months after leaving, I came to the conclusion that perhaps this is what happens with marriages. Passion and attraction naturally fade over time, and maybe that's what happened to us. Although I would say it's mostly on one side, with Emily, who seems to have lost some of her passion for me, rather than the other way around. The last few weeks have been particularly revealing, almost as if we were just two good friends living in the same house, rather than a young married couple in love with each other, and I had no idea why. No, that's not true. I had my suspicions. It's Sunday morning at our house in early September, and I've just made us both breakfast and coffee. I had a busy day helping a friend with a house renovation later in the morning, followed by a visit to a construction site for one of my jobs in the afternoon. I almost never do work on the weekends, but it was inevitable. Good morning, John. You've already prepared breakfast. What would I do without you? Emily said, kissing my cheek as she walked into the kitchen and sat down at the table. Good morning, honey. I have a full day today. I hope you don't get bored at home alone all day, I replied as I busied myself with the bacon I had just cooked. Oh, I'm sure I'll find something to do. Maybe even go out somewhere. Are you going to walk or take an Uber? I asked while drinking coffee. We only have one vehicle now, my truck, which I need today. I'll think of something. What time do you think you'll be back home? Emily asked. Probably around 6 p.m., maybe 7. Are you planning on making anything for dinner? If not, I can buy something on the way home, I replied, finishing my bacon. You better buy something in case I actually go out. By the way, I wanted to tell you something, Emily replied. You're not pregnant by any chance? I answered with a smile. It was our old joke when she said she wanted to tell me something. No, I can't believe you're still using that phrase. What I wanted to say is that there's a big medical conference at the Boston Convention Center in 2 weeks. Doctors Without Borders asked me to be there to talk to other young doctors about the benefits contracts abroad. You know, selling a dream, as they say. But you don't work for them anymore. Why did they ask you? I asked, leaning back on a stool with coffee in my hands. They always ask for doctors who have completed contracts in other countries for them. It doesn't hurt. I might want to contract with them again in the future, who knows. I thought you were happy to work at Elliott Hospital, so you don't have to do any more contract work, especially overseas, I replied, a little worried that she might want to travel again. I'm happy with my job, John. Look, it's just a favor on my part, nothing more. It's a 2-day weekend conference. Booths are open both Saturday and Sunday. I'll take the train, they'll pay me to stay in a nice hotel, and that's it. Food, so it won't cost me anything. Are you inviting me? That's the whole point. I can walk around Boston while you work at the stand, I replied, finishing my coffee. No, they only offered room and board for one person, sorry. But the hotel will have enough room for both of us. We don't even have to tell them about it. I'll pay for my own meals, I suggested. That sounds good, but I don't want to bother with the booking. The hotel would want to charge for a double booking rather than a single one. It's only 2 days and 1 night on Saturday, plus I'll be working most of the time. We can go to Boston together another time, okay? Emily answered. Okay. At least I tried. Look, I have to go. Peter's expecting me in half an hour. If you go out somewhere, call me and tell me where you're going, okay? Maybe I can pick you up later. I'll be fine. I probably won't go anywhere at all. Bye, honey, Emily replied as I walked out of the kitchen, heading towards the exit. I helped Peter with the concreting today, among other things. We finished with other things as we were still waiting for the delayed concrete truck, which was already 3 hours late. Peter finally got the call that the truck was in serious trouble and all deliveries were canceled for the day, so that freed up most of the day for me. I planned to go to the construction site at 4:30, but called the client to see if he could meet earlier. I was glad that he agreed to the 1 o'clock meeting, so I said goodbye to Peter and went to the construction site to prepare for the meeting. What I expected to take 2 hours only took 20 minutes. The client knew exactly what he wanted, and I didn't have to explain all the options. When we finished, I checked my phone to see if Emily had texted that she was going out, but there was nothing, so she was still at home. I headed home to take a shower and then spend the rest of my Sunday afternoon with my beautiful wife, possibly having sex. When I entered the house, I called out to Emily to tell her I was back, while taking off my work boots so as not to stain the carpet. When I didn't get an answer, I called her again, walking through the living room and kitchen into the laundry room to throw my clothes in the washing machine before heading to the shower. I went into the bedroom, but Emily wasn't there, so I quickly looked into our backyard, but Emily wasn't there either. I went to the shower, a little annoyed that she didn't call to tell me where she was going, like I asked. It seems like sometimes there's only one of us in this marriage, but okay. As I changed in the bedroom, putting on panties and a t-shirt, I thought about Emily's sexy red negligee. I still haven't seen her wear it since I noticed it in her suitcase when she was home for Christmas. If she wasn't going to wear it, why did she buy it and bring it from Puerto Rico? And why did she even take him to Puerto Rico with her? This was another thing I couldn't explain about my wife's behavior. Her lingerie drawer is right above mine in our dresser, so I opened it to see if the red negligee was still there. I had to dig around a bit, but I found it almost hidden at the very bottom and very end of the drawer. When I took it out, something seemed wrong. It looked like it had been worn many times and washed too. There was a small hole in part of the trim near the waist, and I also noticed that one of the buttons on the front was missing. Clearly she was wearing it. It looked brand new when I saw it in the suitcase. But when did she wear it? She never put it on for me. And how can you wear out a sexy little negligee unless you wear it during sex? What other conclusion can I draw? That explains why she hid it at the end of the drawer. Maybe it wasn't meant for me. I put it back, hiding it the way Emily had done it. Where the hell is Emily? I asked her to let me know if she was going out somewhere. I picked up the phone and called her, but again I got voicemail. Damn it, this again? I just had to wait for her to return, so I decided to marinate the steaks for dinner. After that, I went back to the gym to try to get the thoughts of Emily cheating out of my head. At 5:30, I heard the front door close, and Emily came in and went straight to the bathroom to take a shower, not calling out to me without saying anything. She must know I'm home because my truck is right in front of the house. Again, strange behavior unless she's trying to hide something. When I heard the shower turn off, I went into the bedroom to greet her and watch her get dressed. After all, she is still the sexiest woman I have ever known. She came out in a robe, but did not want to get dressed in front of me. Instead, she sat on the edge of the bed and began to do her hair. Why didn't you write to me to tell me where you were going, like I asked? What are you, my parents now? Sorry for worrying about my wife. Maybe I should worry less like you. I answered. I was with my friends, okay? I didn't think you needed to know where I was every minute of the day. But why was your phone turned off? You can't use the excuse that you were working. It wasn't turned off. I must have accidentally put it on silent. What's the matter, John? I shook my head. The only thing I could say in response was that I thought she was cheating on me. But I don't have any evidence for such an accusation, so I didn't say anything. Did you at least bring anything for dinner, John? No, I marinated the steaks. I'm going to grill them in a minute. Maybe you can help with the salad if you want. Sure, but you need to clean the grill first. Go ahead. Emily replied, trying to shoo me out of the bedroom. What, and miss the best view of the day? My beautiful wet naked wife. I answered with a sly smile. This is nothing you haven't seen 1,000 times before. Go clean the grill. Emily insisted. Okay, but first I need to go to the bathroom. I replied, heading towards our bathroom. Wait, I'll just take my dirty clothes and put them in the wash. Emily quickly replied, taking the clothes she was wearing from the laundry basket. As I stood there relieving myself, I wondered why Emily was worried about me seeing her naked right now, or leaving me alone with the clothes she was wearing. Again, what is she hiding? After visiting the bathroom, I headed to the laundry room to grab the portable grill we keep there. I noticed that the washing machine was already running, containing only our clothes that we wore today, barely enough for a full load. It's like she's trying to wash away any evidence that might be on her clothes. Or maybe I'm just paranoid and imagining it all. Over the next 2 weeks, little changed in our relationship. Everything went as usual, and that's all I could say about them. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't shake the feeling that something was going on, that Emily was hiding something. That her emotional and sexual attraction to me had changed since she left for Puerto Rico 15 months ago. I hoped that everything would be fine when her contract ended, but almost 4 months have passed, and we are still not back to normal. Now I'll be paranoid about her going to Boston alone for the weekend. Will she be there with someone else? Am I being deceived? It's Friday night, and I decided that I was going to have the best sex with her, so that she would remember me while she was away on the weekend. But it wasn't meant to be. She said she was having her feminine days, and I couldn't have sex with her at all, let alone anything else. I swear she had these days just 2 weeks ago, but what can I do? Asked to show me the gaskets to prove it. I would never do this, and she knows it. On Saturday morning, I took her to the station and then went home. I had a completely free weekend, no plans at all. I entered our bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, not knowing what to do. Later, I'll do a workout and a run, but what about the rest of the day? I noticed that Emily didn't close her underwear drawer when she packed her things this morning. I stood up to close it, but suddenly I wanted to look at her sexy red peignoir again, as if it were a symbol of my worries about my wife. This is something I just can't explain. I started rummaging through the drawer, but couldn't find the negligee. I kept searching. Where is he? I took out the box and put it on the bed, interrupting all the laundry to make sure you didn't miss anything. No, he's definitely not there. Did she take him with her? Why did she do this? There was only one answer, and I didn't want to admit it to myself, although I knew it. I put the drawer back and checked the other clothes drawers, as well as the laundry basket in the bathroom. It wasn't there. I checked the washing machine, and it was empty. I even checked the trash to make sure she didn't throw it away, but it wasn't there either. Damn, she took him with her. As if all my suspicions up to that point had finally come to light, I could no longer make excuses or deny what now seemed obvious. My wife must have had an affair, I didn't know with whom, but it must have started with someone she worked with at Doctors Without Borders in Puerto Rico. Certainly, my wife will be in Boston with other NGO staff this weekend. I'm willing to bet that whoever she had an affair with will be there too. Will she wear her sexy red negligee for him tonight, whoever he is? But what about the time she returned home? That doesn't explain her still distant behavior, especially over the past month. I had a headache, a mixture of confusion and anger. Would Emily really do this to us? We were fine. We were high school sweethearts who dated all through college, then got married and lived together. Before her contract in Puerto Rico, everything was fine between us. Why would she risk ruining what we have? We've been best friends and lovers for the past 10 years, but lately it seems like we're just roommates and nothing more. I didn't know the answer. All I knew was that the pragmatic side of me, the logical and fact-based side, needed proof. I needed to see her infidelity with my own eyes before I would finally accept it or face it. I put on jeans, shoes, a nice polo shirt and jacket, then grabbed my keys and left the house. I'm going to Boston for her conference to see with my own eyes what's going on. Entering the large exhibition hall, I picked up one of the booklets, which also contained a layout of all the stands. I found the Doctors Without Borders booth and headed there. I'm not stupid enough to just walk up to the booth where Emily works and expect to see something fishy. No, I will keep my distance and wander around the other stands, observing her and who she interacts with. Some representative from a medical company started telling me about their products, and I noticed Emily in the distance. She sat with another woman, talking in the background of the booth, while two guys, apparently also employees, chatted with passers-by. I ran out of questions for the guy who was talking to me after 20 minutes, and I moved to another stand where I could continue to watch my wife. Over the next 2 hours, I continued to watch her. The two guys left much earlier, leaving Emily and her colleague to work on the stand. I didn't notice anything suspicious. Emily talked to people passing by the stand, sometimes lingering with those who were really interested in the NGO. I started to get bored and decided to have lunch at one of the restaurants inside. When I approached the stand again, Emily was no longer there. Instead of her, two men worked there again. I wandered around trying to find Emily and decided that the best place to find her was at the restaurant where I had just eaten, since she was probably also eating. At the third restaurant I passed, I noticed her sitting with the same woman she had worked with that morning. I quickly turned around and left, sitting at a table at the far end where I could continue to watch her. As I sat there, I thought about what I was doing and felt like crap. Am I really happy spying on my wife? Chasing her and watching her like some amateur detective. I have to be better than this. Emily deserves better. What the hell am I doing here? I stood up and walked out, heading towards the parking lot where my truck was parked, but at the last minute, I went back inside to check on Emily one more time. It's like I just couldn't leave it that easy. I found her again at the stand. She was talking with the same woman. The two men were still there. I wondered if one of these guys was her lover and carefully watched her interact with them. One of them was large, plump, and clearly not to her taste. The other one was older, tall, and thin, clearly balding, and, in my opinion, also could not attract her. When she spoke to them, everything seemed quite normal, like conversations between colleagues. Maybe I'm just paranoid, maybe nothing is happening, and I'm making it all up because our sex life isn't what it used to be, and I'm looking for someone to blame. It was already 3 o'clock. The stands closed at 5. I decided to wait until Emily finished work to see where she would go and with whom. At this time, I needed a beer, so I headed to a large bar that I had seen earlier near the food court. The bar was already quite busy. All the regular tables were taken, so I sat on a stool at the end of the bar. 3 people stood next to me and discussed work issues. They were obviously working at one of the stands. They spoke loudly, and it was difficult for me to enjoy my beer. Finally, they left, and I ordered a second light beer. After all, I was driving and didn't plan to stay overnight. 20 minutes later, 2 men sat down at the counter next to me. Then I realized that these were the same 2 men Emily was working with today. My first thought was that Emily could join them at any moment and find me here. Then I thought that maybe Emily and her colleague were now working the stand until 5, since these 2 guys were now drinking beer next to me. They started talking about work and then about some guy they both knew. I tuned out their conversation, checking the time, almost 4 hours. Finishing my beer, I was about to get up and leave when one of the men mentioned Emily. Did you know Emily Walker before today? That beautiful blonde on the stand. Have you been to Puerto Rico since last Christmas? Asked one of the men. No, I've never been to Puerto Rico. I've worked in Guatemala and Honduras. I saw her for the first time today. She's very attractive. Her husband is very lucky, answered the second one. I felt a little better. Yes, I was really lucky. I don't know how lucky her husband is. I was in Puerto Rico with her before Christmas. Have you ever worked with Ryan Knight? He's one of the senior doctors who has been with us for several years. He was the team leader in Puerto Rico, and he and Emily spent a lot of time together, a lot, answered the first man, laughing. What? I almost turned to the man to ask what he meant, but I remembered that I didn't know these people. What the hell are they talking about my wife and this Dr. Ryan Knight? Yes, I know him. Worked with him in Honduras last year. He seemed like a nice guy, happily married with kids. Did he really have an affair with Emily? Not a romance, I would say, a whirlwind romance. They couldn't get enough of each other soon after she arrived in the summer. She arrived, so beautiful and innocent, like a flower ready to be picked. She wanted to impress Ryan, and he couldn't resist. From the very beginning, every moment when they weren't working, they could be heard day and night in the dorm where we all lived. He even changed her roommate and moved in with her. That's all. It shouldn't have happened. 2 married people of different sexes living together, it shouldn't have happened like that. He only escaped punishment because he was the boss, continued the first man. I was stunned. All this time I doubted if anything was happening, and now this guy told me all this. I couldn't believe it. I felt empty. Wow, I see. So Ryan is done with this. Is he home in Chicago with his wife and kids now? Well, I just talked to Emily, asked if she was still in touch with Ryan. It was clear that they were a couple back then. They lived together, they ate together, they were inseparable. It wasn't a secret. But here's the interesting thing, she said. He's now working at Elliott Hospital with her in Manchester. He started there a month ago, she said. She probably helped him get the job, but she'll never say that. Wait, is he divorced? Did he leave his wife and children for Emily? Asked the older balding guy. I asked her about it, like, if he's already divorced. She said no, he was just working with her for a while, whatever that meant. I bet Ryan told his wife he was going overseas on a contract while he was sleeping with a young doctor in New Hampshire. He must have a man of steel to pull off something like that, lie to his wife to be with Emily. Doing that with a wife and kids at home, seriously, it's a bit overkill, responded another balding but skinny guy, and I have to agree with his point, it's really overkill. Emily ruined our marriage, too. You say that, but you haven't seen Emily sunbathing topless on the beach or pool in Puerto Rico. If you saw her body and those breasts, my God, even you might have doubts, replied the fatter guy. No, I couldn't live with myself if I did that to my family. No matter how beautiful they are, it's just not worth it. And she's married too, so now she's working and no doubt sleeping with Ryan again. And then what? Is she returning home to her husband? Answered the older thin guy. Yes, I know, he was unlucky. Well, don't mention it when she comes after 5. It's really none of our business if she wants to go out on the side. I bet Ryan will be here soon too. He definitely won't miss the opportunity to spend the night with her. I bet he'll have sex with her until the morning, the bigger guy replied. Well, it will be nice to see Ryan again, although I can't say that I will respect him now. It's not a matter of what he does. I could never do that to my wife and children, replied the balding guy. Oh, come on, even for someone as hot as Emily. Man, I'd give my left kidney for one night with her, the bigger one replied, laughing loudly. But you are lonely. You don't have a wife and kids to think about. There's more to life than just sex, even if she's 10 out of 10 like Emily, the balding guy replied. Okay, just remember, be quiet when Emily or Ryan comes, okay? Certainly. I was still trying to recover from hearing them discuss my wife's infidelity with her lover. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Now everything became clear to me, everything fell into place. Even her recent behavior was explained. Now she's sleeping with Ryan again. Last Saturday, I bet she spent the entire day having sex with him, so she wasn't answering her calls and wanted to shower right away when she got home and wash her dirty clothes. She also didn't want me to see her naked because she probably had marks from their session less than an hour ago. My anger reached a boiling point. I wanted to grab the fat guy and ask him, what else does he know? But instead, I tried to act casual, stood up, and left the bar. I swear, if someone had bumped into me along the way, I probably would have punched them. I sat down again in front of the convention center. It was already past 4:30. Did I want to wait to see her with him? To see who this Ryan is? No, it really doesn't matter to me who he is. I'm more angry at Emily. I don't care if he cheats on his wife. I really don't. All I care about is that Emily is cheating on me. That's all. What angers me most about Emily is the lies and deceit, not just the betrayal. If she fell in love with this guy shortly after arriving in Puerto Rico, why didn't she break up with me then? At least she should have had the courage to do it when she got home. Instead, she pretended we were fine and had sex with me, even though she clearly didn't love me anymore. Why? Now she's helping this guy find a job in our hometown, where everyone knows us, continuing the affair right under my nose. This complete lack of respect for me, it's like she's rubbing it in my face. That's what I can't understand. Why is she doing this? I gave her everything I could. We have always been best friends and lovers since school. I've never even kissed another girl other than Emily, let alone had sex with anyone else. And now she acts out her infidelity as if she doesn't care about me. How did we get here? There is only one thing left. Do I need to see her with him with my own eyes? to remove any doubts. Maybe. I think of it as closure, seeing her being with another man who she has a romantic and sexual relationship with will make it completely clear to me that our marriage is truly over. I tried to pull myself together. It was difficult. I still had thoughts, anger, frustrations, and questions all swirling around in my head. The main question was why? Why, Emily? Why did you want to cheat on me? It was now after 5 in the evening, and I got up and headed back inside as most people were leaving. I don't want to run into her yet. I just want to see her with him to close this issue for myself. I headed towards the bar, stopping and sitting at a cafe nearby. From where I'm sitting, I can see the end of the bar where I was before. Those two guys are still there, along with Emily and the other woman. Now there was also a third man, a tall guy with neatly combed brown hair. He looked in good shape and was well dressed. He stood next to Emily. He now had his arm around her waist as they chatted with the others. It must be Ryan. This is the guy my wife is cheating on me with. Seeing my wife standing there with another man as he puts his arms around her, claiming her, is hard. Until today, I thought that Emily loved only me and no one else. Even with all my suspicions, I hoped and prayed that I was wrong. It's hard to describe this moment, to see her with him with my own eyes. It broke my heart and destroyed my trust in people in one fell swoop. What should I do now? Go there and confront her. Punch this guy in the face and tell his wife to get the hell out. I really want to go there and let my anger out. But no, I don't need assault charges on top of the pain she's already caused me. My pragmatic side tells me not to make hasty decisions when I'm emotionally upset, that I need to go home and calm down first. I now have proof. I got what I came for. I took out my phone, turned on the video, and zoomed in, recording them. As if on cue, Emily turned slightly towards Ryan and kissed him. I pressed stop and headed to the garage. It was strange to walk into our house, where we had lived together for many years. While I was alone here, while Emily was in Puerto Rico, our home felt different now. Now it served only as a reminder of what could have been, but what is now gone. It would be difficult to sleep here tonight, knowing that my wife was having sex in a hotel room with her lover in Boston while I lay here alone. Again, the only real question I had was, why? Why, Emily? I decided to go out again, go to a bar or something, have dinner, and maybe spend the evening with friends. I just didn't want to be alone. I didn't get home until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I also had no problems sleeping after drinking too much during the night. This morning's hangover only made me feel worse about my marriage. I needed to clear my head and decide what to do before Emily returned home later that evening. One thing I knew for sure, our marriage would not continue as before. I was not going to pretend that I didn't know anything, or that I was ready to accept it. No, this is definitely the end, but what now? Pack your things and move. No, screw that. She is the one who cheats. Let her go live with her boyfriend. He must be renting somewhere in the city. He even works with her now. How can you lie to your wife so blatantly about where you are? Does she even know he lives in New Hampshire, works here? That's when I realized what needed to be done. I opened my laptop and went to the Doctors Without Borders website to see if there was any of his data there. I couldn't find anything, at least not in the public domain, so I checked popular job sites, looking for Ryan Knight, Doctor, Chicago. Found. When I went to his profile, it listed his time working in Honduras and Puerto Rico, most recently as a team leader for Doctors Without Borders. I found his contact information. He stated that he lived in Chicago and provided an email as well as a cell and home number. Bingo. I made myself some coffee and sat in the backyard while I drank it. Do I really want to do this? I am currently suffering from the breakdown of my own marriage, and he helped make it happen. But his wife and children are not to blame. Do I want to ruin their lives too? No, but his wife deserves to know. She must know the truth. Besides, he can't ruin my life and walk off into the sunset with my wife and his. I stood up and walked back inside and called the home number listed on the job site. Hello, this is Melissa. Melissa Knight, I answered. Yes, it's me. Hi, Melissa. This is Kevin from Doctors Without Borders. Can I speak to your husband Ryan about an opportunity for him? I asked. Sorry, he's already working for you. He's in Costa Rica now. This can't be right. I don't have it in our database. I have it listed that his last contract was in Puerto Rico earlier this year. This is right, I continued. Yes, it is. But he recently left for a new contract in Costa Rica about a month ago. You might want to call them to confirm. Or you can call my husband on his number. Although the connection there is bad, my calls almost never go through, Melissa replied. Is it true? We have never had problems with mobile communications in Central America. In addition, we have no contracts with Costa Rica. They have an excellent healthcare system there. Can you do me a favor? Can you check your husband's tickets to Costa Rica and, if possible, give me the flight number? We pay for all travel, so I can look it up in our database and clear things up quickly, I replied. Yes, of course. Wait a minute, I'm not at the computer right now. Ryan's wife took a minute or two to log into her laptop and their email before responding to me. This can't be right. What the hell? Melissa said, clearly not to me. His flight was only one way from Chicago to Boston. He usually flies through Texas for his trips to Central America, with connections to the destination country. I don't understand why he would fly to Boston, and there are no other flights listed after that, Melissa continued. Is it true? We never book flights through Boston unless our contractors live in the Northeast. What flight number do you have? Maybe I can check that with myself, I continued, hoping that she would reveal the necessary information. Melissa read out the flight number, and I pretended to type it in somewhere while she spoke. I don't have anything in our database. He didn't book this flight through us. Are you sure he's under contract with us? Are there other companies or NGOs that he works for? I asked his wife. No, he told me that the contract with Doctors Without Borders in Costa Rica is for 6 months. I am absolutely sure of this, she replied. Well, I don't know what else to say, except that he is not working with us now, and we did not pay for his flights, accommodation, or salary. Maybe if you check your bank statements, you'll see details of another flight he paid for, or find out who pays his salary. I know it's probably strange, but I don't have anything for him right now. That's why I called to offer him a job, I continued. Wait a minute then, Melissa replied with a sigh. I heard her typing. If nothing else, she already suspects her husband. She will want to know the truth. This can't be right. What the hell is going on? Melissa said out loud again, although it was clear that she was not talking to me. He hasn't withdrawn money from our account for the last month. How is he even paying for anything? Melissa said out loud again. Maybe he took a cash advance before leaving, or he has another bank account, I replied. No, we only have one joint account, and there are no advances here. Why should he open another account? I can't answer that. Have there been any recent additions to your joint account? Surely he receives a salary if he works somewhere, I asked her. Yes, there were 3 receipts, the same amount every week. These are all bank transfers, apparently from another bank. The details indicate that it is from a bank in Manchester, New Hampshire. Why is he transferring money from a bank in New Hampshire? This doesn't make any sense, she said out loud again. Well, it's about an hour from Boston. I guess that explains the one-way flight to Boston. This is weird. I continued, waiting for her to understand. What's strange, Melissa answered, picking up my hint. Well, we only have one other doctor in our database from Manchester, New Hampshire. I placed her on the last contract. It was in Puerto Rico, worked for your husband for a year until June. What would he do in Manchester with her? Is he working with her again, or what? That would explain a lot if you are now receiving his salary transfers from the bank there, I replied, the hint clear even if I played the innocent. This is impossible. What would he do working in New Hampshire with some woman who used to work for him? Why didn't he tell me about this? Why didn't he tell me about the flights and bank accounts? Oh, God. Melissa's voice trailed off. And there it was. She realized what it meant. She realized that her husband was cheating on her, lying to her. Who is she? Is this woman from Manchester? What is her name? She almost demanded. I cannot give out personal information of our former employees. I'm really sorry, I replied, as if I was truly sorry. But she's a doctor, right? Melissa continued. Well, I only place doctors on contracts, that's what I do, I replied. Manchester can't be that big, there aren't many hospitals there. He must work in one of them, Melissa replied. Sorry, Mrs. Knight, I don't quite understand, I added, continuing my game. Don't worry, I'll find out where he works and what he does. Something else? Not. I think my husband will want to work for you now, Melissa answered. Okay, sorry for all the confusion I caused. I hope you can sort it out, I replied. Oh, don't worry, I'll handle it, Melissa said firmly before ending the call. It couldn't have gone better, but why did I still feel like a piece of shit doing it? I can't enjoy ruining her life, even if her husband and my wife are the real reasons for it. I'm just helping her find out the truth. Having dealt with that, I needed to figure out what to do with Emily. I decided that I wouldn't move, Emily should do it. I went to the garage and grabbed our 2 suitcases, brought them into the bedroom, and started packing her clothes. They were full before I was done, so I grabbed our last suitcase from the laundry room, packed the rest of her clothes and all her things from the bathroom. Having finished with this, I placed all 3 suitcases next to the front door, leaving them there until Emily returned in the evening. Having finished this matter, I went to the gym and then went for a run. Now I'm sitting here having lunch, trying to imagine what I'll say to her, what she might say in response. I am determined not to lose my composure. I don't want her to see how much I'm suffering right now. No, I will have the courage to do what she should have done a year ago. I will put an end to this once and for all. I've been watching sports on TV to pass the time. It's almost 6 in the evening, and Emily will soon call for me to pick her up from the station. That reminds me, I took out my phone and turned it off. 2 can play this game. At 7:30 p.m., I heard a car pull up outside the house and a door slam, soon followed by the sound of the front door opening and closing. When Emily walked into the living room where I was sitting, I saw her stop and sigh. John, why is your phone off? You should have picked me up. I had to call a taxi. And what about the suitcases at the front door? Emily asked, plopping down on the couch next to me. I'm so tired. It's been a very stressful and tiring weekend. I think I need a few days to recover, Emily continued after I didn't respond right away. These suitcases are for you. They are full of your things. I know why you're so tired after last night. I know who you spent last night with. I know everything, I answered calmly. John, what are you talking about? You're talking nonsense, Emily answered with a hint of alarm in her voice. You can stop lying, Emily. Everything is over. You should have had the courage to end our marriage a year ago when you started cheating on me. Since then, we just played roles. I didn't understand why, but now I understand, I answered, still calm. What are you talking about? Treason? What are you saying, John? I love you, Emily replied, her voice rising. It seemed she began to understand that everything was falling apart. Yes, sure. You haven't loved me since Dr. Ryan Knight started sleeping with you every night and day in Puerto Rico. Like I said, I know everything. Emily remained silent as her eyes began to fill with tears, and she eventually jumped up and ran into the bedroom, locking the door behind her. It annoys me, she doesn't even have the courage to admit it now that she's caught. Maybe she's been lying for so long that it's hard for her to admit what she did. I stayed on the couch watching TV. I'm not going to talk to her, knock on our bedroom, and ask her to come out. To hell with this, let her come to me. It's all on her. She has to take responsibility. An hour had passed since Emily ran into our bedroom. I decided that I needed to eat, so I went to the kitchen to heat something up. As I sat in the kitchen eating reheated noodles, I heard the bedroom door open and Emily, her eyes red and still watery, walked over to the kitchen and sat down on the stool on the other side of me. John, can we talk? I need to say a few things, Emily said quietly. Sure, go ahead, I'm listening, I replied, continuing to eat my noodles. First of all, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I never meant to hurt you in any way. I never wanted this to happen. I really didn't want to, Emily offered sincerely. And yet, when it happened, you kept doing it over and over again, I replied calmly. I know, I feel terrible about this. I doubt. I bet you enjoyed having sex with him. That's why you kept doing it. Stop lying to me. Be honest for once, I replied. Emily looked away from me, breaking eye contact. She then closed her eyes and sat silently for a few seconds before looking at me again and speaking. You're right, John. I really enjoy having sex with him. I can't get enough. It's like I've become addicted to it. Every time I came home to you, all I could think about was getting back there to him, being with him again. I hate that I feel this way. I hate what I did to you, Emily admitted. So I'll ask again, why didn't you just end our marriage when this all started? Why lie to me, pretend that we are happily married when all you wanted was sex with another guy? Because I didn't want our marriage to end. I've loved you since we were teenagers. I can't imagine my life without you. I still can't. So I kept telling myself that I could end this with him, that I was just getting it out of my system, that I was just having fun and not loving him the way I love you. I kept telling myself that this would end soon and we would be happy together again. And yet he now lives and works here, and you sleep with him again. It hardly seems like I want to end it or be happily married to me. Heck, you even spent all of last night with him when I suggested going with you for the weekend so we could enjoy the room together. You outright lied to me. You planned to be with him this whole time. This is not an accident. You have been lying and scheming for over a year. Sorry, it's true. I went to Boston just so we could be together. It was hard to find time for us to be alone. Well, I'm sorry if my presence made it difficult for you to have sex with someone else, Emily. You found time 2 weeks ago when I was away, didn't you? That's why you didn't want me to see you naked the day you came back. You just finished having sex with him right before you came home to me, I added. Yes, I'm really sorry, John. I really am. It's a little late for this, isn't it? You just got back from planning a weekend with another guy, and all you can say is that you're sorry. Are you sorry for what you did or sorry for getting caught? I know that no matter what I say, it's unlikely to improve the situation after what I did. But I really love you, John, more than anything in this world. More than anything else. You're kidding, right? You cheated with another guy for more than a year, not wanting to have sex with me, giving him everything. And now you sit here with an honest face and say that you love me more than anything in the world. Do you realize how fake this sounds? I know, and I know that you are suffering now, and that it is all because of me. I know it's hard for you to believe this now, but I really love you, John, honestly. It doesn't matter if, somewhere deep in your twisted heart, there's a place where you've convinced yourself that you still love me. You're just fooling yourself at the moment. There is no more love between us. You destroyed it soon after your trip to Puerto Rico. All these lies, deceptions, betrayals, pretense when you returned home. Now I know why your phone always went to voicemail when you weren't working. It was because you were busy having sex with him, wasn't it? You didn't even want to call me back or talk to me after that. You only wanted him. Well, now you can have it as much as you want. I couldn't call you. I felt so guilty. I just couldn't. I knew what I was doing was wrong, that I was hurting you, but I couldn't explain it. I couldn't stop. I did not want. Well, now you should be happy. You can be with Ryan as much as you want. You are now free to do whatever you want. I even packed your bags for you. You see, I'm a good husband until the very end. John, this is not what I want. I want you, always wanted, and always will want. You're the only man I've ever loved, I swear. Like I said, it's too late for that. If you really think I'll ever want to be with you after what you've done, you have even less respect for me than the little you've already shown. Do you think you can just say, I'm sorry, and I love you, and that will fix everything? What the hell, Emily? You tore out my heart and trampled on it. And now you want to sit here and torment him even more. Just grab your bags and get the hell out. Our marriage is over. We are done. I hate you more than anything in the world right now, I replied, finally showing emotion, although I tried not to. Emily's tears began to flow again, and she returned to our bedroom. I finished the noodles and opened the beer. I deserve it after all this. I returned to the living room and sat down to watch TV. I don't know what Emily is doing in the bedroom. Her things aren't there anymore. She is probably crying, feeling sorry for herself that her ideal world that she built for herself has finally collapsed. Half an hour later, Emily left our bedroom and stopped in the living room to talk to me one last time. John, I know you hate me right now, that I deserve this, and you won't believe anything I say. But I need to say this. Ever since we started dating in high school, I knew that you were the man of my dreams, the one I wanted to spend my whole life with. Everything about you was so perfect, and I loved you more than I ever thought I could. Even in college, when everyone else was having fun and sleeping around, I never thought about being with anyone but you, and I knew you felt the same. When you asked me to marry you and we moved in together, I thought my life couldn't get any better. Honestly, I was so happy. Everything I dreamed about came true. I can't explain why I slept with Ryan for the first time while I was away. I could blame it on loneliness, boredom for you, whatever. But I knew what I was doing, and I wanted it to happen. I knew what consequences it would have, but I tried to bury it inside myself, to convince myself that I would never have to face it. I know it was stupid, but I was so afraid of losing you, of not having you in my life or near me. I think I became too complacent in our relationship, thinking that you would always be there was the only possible reason I allowed this to happen. I know I ruined our marriage with this. Deep down, I always knew this would happen. If I could take it all back and never go to Puerto Rico, I would. But it's just a fantasy. I'm so sorry that I hurt you. If you believe one thing I said, please believe it. Hurting you was the last thing I ever wanted. I hope that one day you can forgive me. I hope you can move on with your life and be happy again. Goodbye, John. With that, Emily turned and walked out the front door, picking up her suitcases and dragging them outside where I heard the sound of a car waiting for her. She didn't say where she was going, whether she would stay with him, and I didn't care. I feel like her speech is more for herself than for me. In a way, she is trying to justify her actions in her mind so that she can continue to live with herself after everything she has done. She wants to leave with memories of who we were, not who we became, and leave me with kind words, not evil ones. But I truly believe that actions speak louder than words, and her actions have already said more than enough. To say that the next few weeks were difficult for me would be a huge understatement. I even found it difficult to concentrate on work. It was almost impossible not to think about Emily and what she had done to me. After a few weeks, I finally contacted a divorce lawyer and began the process. I realized it was better to finish this than to drag it out. Another question is the house we lived in. Although we only rented it, we lived here together for many years. He reminds me of her. Everything reminds me of her. Our lease is up in 2 months, and I decided to move, start over. By the time I moved into the new apartment, I hoped it would be a new beginning, to start to forget Emily, to finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. My lawyer contacted me, the divorce papers were ready to be served, and I was asked to provide Emily's address, which I did not know. I told him where she worked. He had to find her at the hospital. I received a call later that day from my lawyer saying there were complications. It turned out that Emily no longer works at the hospital. She was fired after Melissa, the wife of Dr. Ryan Knight, filed for divorce. He was served with paperwork at the hospital, and Dr. Emily Walker was named in court documents along with their place of employment. Hospital administrator fired Emily for recommending Ryan without disclosing his relationship, and Ryan for not disclosing his relationship with Emily. In general, the hospital distanced itself from both of them. So where is she now? How can I get a lawyer to serve her with divorce papers? I gave them the address and contact information for her parents in Florida. Maybe he can contact them to find out. There's also Melissa, Ryan's wife. Perhaps she knows where her husband lives and whether he now lives with Emily. I called her home number. I wasn't going to cheat this time. Hello, this is Melissa. Hey, Melissa, you don't know me, but we've talked before. Last time I said my name was Kevin from Doctors Without Borders. Yes, I remember, and thank you, I guess. I would never have known what was happening to my husband otherwise. Please, my real name is John Walker. I was married to Dr. Emily Walker, the woman with whom your husband had an affair. Yes, I know who she is. Are you still married? Well, that's why I'm calling you. I hope that you could help me this time, I asked. I'll help if I can, Melissa replied. Emily and Ryan were fired from Elliott Hospital because you filed for divorce and listed them as your employer. They were fired for failure to declare personal relationships, as it turned out. Yes, I know. I spoke to the hospital administrator. I basically demanded that she take action, or I will also drag them into a scandal for allowing married employees to hire their lovers with the blessing of the hospital. She didn't want anything to do with it, Melissa replied. Well done. Melissa, the reason I called is because my lawyer is trying to serve Emily with divorce papers, but I don't know where she lives or works because she was fired. I thought maybe you knew where Ryan lived and if Emily lived with him. I know where Ryan is. He lives here in Chicago again and rents an apartment not far from our house. He said he wanted to be closer to the children. I'm not sure why. He's lived and worked abroad for most of their life, and I don't think he'll be here long. I don't know if he brought Emily with him. I'm not sure, Melissa said. Can I get his address and phone number from you? Maybe my lawyer can contact him and find out if my wife, that is, my ex-wife, lives with him, I replied. It's difficult, isn't it? Stop thinking of her as your wife. Same for me. Stay strong, John. We will both get through this. I will send you his details via SMS after the call. Thank you, Melissa. Hope you are okay, too. I can't imagine how hard it would be if Emily and I had children. It must be hard for them, too. They're actually doing a pretty good job. I think it's because their father wasn't in their lives much, so nothing really changed. This is perhaps the only plus. Yes. Well, I hope you squeeze every cent out of it, I added. Oh yeah, my divorce lawyer, she's a bitch, and I love her. She's really expensive, so I'm lucky Ryan is paying for her with all those earnings. I'll get the kids, the house, the car, and 50% of his salary for the next 12 years until our kids reach 18. He deserves everything that's coming to him. Yes, without a doubt. Emily and I don't have much to share. We just started, and we don't have kids or a house. It should be pretty simple for us. Well, it's better to start over when you don't have children together. I don't know what to do. Who needs a 30-year-old divorced mother of two? I even gave up my career to take care of my children. I'll have to pick up my resume again and go back to work soon, Melissa replied with a slight laugh at the end. I'm sure you will succeed. Thanks again for sending his details. I hope I can hand her the documents and finish this, I replied. Okay, goodbye, John. Take care of yourself, Melissa replied when we ended the conversation. Ryan's wife did send me his address, and my lawyer sent someone to check if Emily lived there, but it turns out they are no longer together, at least according to Ryan. He said that she had entered into a new contract with Doctors Without Borders, and that my lawyer should contact them about her whereabouts. It turned out that Emily was on a 6-month contract in Honduras, and my lawyer said that he could not serve her with documents until she returned to the United States. I wasn't happy that it would take even longer. But soon after, to my surprise, Emily had already hired a divorce lawyer and served me the papers at home. Everything was quite simple. She didn't demand anything. 6 months later, we officially divorced. I haven't seen or heard from Emily during this time, and I don't think I will in the future. I would like to say that my life is wonderful now, but I would be lying. My job is okay, my family is okay, my friends are good. But it's hard when it feels like I've lost my other half, my best friend, my only lover. They tell me that it will get easier over time, that I will find someone new. But I'm not sure I can truly trust anyone again after what she did. Sometimes there is no happy ending, just the end of what happened. And those who were involved are trying to cope with it and move on. I hope everyone is right and it gets better every day. but it doesn't feel that way now. It seems like I just deal with it by burying the pain as deep as possible. I still don't understand why she did it. Maybe I never will.